Hey everyone, and welcome back to our San Diego Comic-Con coverage. Although technically right now we're not actually talking about San Diego Comic-Con, we're taking a sidestep to talk about the fan-run Justice Con, which happened on Saturday over the weekend and featured an interview with none other than Zack Snyder, the creator of the Zack Snyder Justice League Snyder Cut thing that we've all talked about. And I'm joined by Germain Lussier, and we are here to talk about the panel, which, I mean, I had mixed feelings about it, but I will give them credit. It was bigger, had a bigger audience, it was live, it had a lot of energy that I have yet to see at San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah, they at one point they had like 17,000 people streaming live. I mean, and if you look at the views on the Comic-Con at home stuff, it's like 200. You know, I'm sure some of the bigger panels have more. And there were errors, you know, like they played some footage and it messed up, and that just, it gave it some life. So while it was definitely very weird, to say the least, it had a lot of energy the other panels did not have.
So some of the highlights were Zack Snyder talked about, he teased a lot of what we can expect at the upcoming DC FanDome. There's going to be more surprises in store, but they did have one little sneak peek that drove the Snyder Cut fans absolutely wild. And what was it, Germain?
Well, we got to see about 15 to 20 seconds of Superman in a black suit go into the Batcave and meet Alfred, played by Jeremy Irons. And it's a big deal because that was kind of a moment that was in one of the trailers. We didn't see it was Superman, and it was in a different location. And we never really got black suit Superman in the Joss Whedon cut. So the fact that it was in this different location, in the black suit, Henry Cavill wasn't evil per se, we don't know exactly what he was in 15 seconds said, this is a whole new movie. So he really picked a very specific clip for the fans.
And one thing he was pointing out that I found kind of fascinating, and he expressed it very passionately, was how this is going to be his movie, the movie he filmed. He basically said, I would light the whole thing on fire before showing any footage in my movie that was basically made by Joss Whedon. He didn't say that exactly, but we all know what he was saying.
He said no mustaches in his cut,
Yeah, exactly. So Jermaine, what was your biggest takeaway from what we got in this Justice League, Justice Con side panel?
That Zack Snyder's streaming camera is on point. It looked like he was filming a movie, and everyone else looked like what you're probably watching right now. You know, like we're on iPhones, we're on laptops. He must have had some kind of setup. But he also, all kidding aside, he did mention that like Jason Momoa had seen a cut of the movie a long time ago, but that was not going to be what the Snyder Cut ultimately is. It seemed like what he saw was what he had before this was actually finalized, and now that it is finalized to come out next year, he's going to improve it and make it better. So I thought that was really interesting because over the last 3 years, we've heard so many conflicting things about the Snyder Cut. It exists, it doesn't exist, it has effects, it doesn't, and that was the first time it kind of clicked in my head where I was like, oh yeah, of course he had this assembly cut that he could show his friends, but now he's going to make the real thing, with every resource possible.
And he did say we're going to learn at DC FanDome whether it's going to be a movie, by which I mean like a 1,000,000-hour movie,
right,
or released as different TV episodes. And it sounds like he'd be happy either way.
Yeah.
The one caveat with the panel, and I want to be mindful, is it wasn't at San Diego Comic-Con. It wasn't moderated by a journalist or someone who's part of the staff. It was a fan-run event, and with that comes a certain energy and I will say overt praise on Zack Snyder. This wasn't anything that was challenging him. It wasn't asking him any questions that I was curious to know about what the Snyder Cut looks like. So that was a little disappointing to me because it does come across as a little uncomfortable at times.
They asked a couple good questions, I thought. One I was interested in is if it was their choice to replace themselves after their child died by suicide. So that was kind of interesting, but they did give him in an hour. That was like 10 minutes of the hour, and most of it was him just doodling aspect ratios and selling t-shirts, which prefer a good cause. But yeah, it was very much like Zach was the moderator and the subject as opposed to anything else.
Yeah, it was really the Snyder Power Hour, basically. But
Absolutely.
It did have an impact. I was very much tempted to. I used my light for this chat because I was like, if Zack Snyder used a nice light, I got to use a nice light too.
He is raising the bar. Like honestly, like if you look at a screenshot, it looks like it's like people are making comments on a movie that they're watching, like Netflix party. It looks so great.
Well, thanks everyone for joining us, and we're going to have more news out of San Diego Comic-Con, and we'll have some news out of DC FanDome where we're going to get more announcements for the long-awaited Snyder Cut. So thanks so much for joining us, Germain.
Thanks so much, Beth.